Amber stood at attention outside the grand chamber, her back straight, her eyes forward, just as she had been trained. The alien guards around her towered nearly 7 feet tall, their purple skin gleaming under the crystalline lights of the Zarthian palace. She was the only human in the Royal Guard, a position she had earned through sheer determination. When the Earth delegation first arrived, none of the aliens believed a small human could protect anyone, especially not their precious Queen Xylara. But Amber had proven herself in the combat trials, outmaneuvering the stronger but slower Zarthian warriors. Her reflexes and tactical thinking had impressed the guard captain enough to grant her a probationary position. The massive doors slid open. With a soft hiss, Queen Xylara emerged, her 8-foot frame adorned with shimmering jewels that caught and reflected the light in hypnotic patterns. Her forearms moved with practiced grace as she addressed her council. Amber kept her gaze forward as the queen passed, but she felt those piercing silver eyes linger on her. "You there, human," the queen said, her voice melodic yet commanding. "Come with me." Amber followed silently as instructed through winding corridors of the palace until they reached a private chamber. The queen dismissed her personal guards, leaving only Amber. "You are an oddity," Xylara said, circling the human. Her lower arms clasped behind her back, while her upper arms gestured expressively. "Your kind are so fragile, so small, yet you stand among my elite guards." Why, Amber maintained her stance. "My queen. I serve because I can. My size and species do not determine my worth or abilities." The queen made a sound that might have been laughter. "You speak boldly for someone so easily crushed." She extended one long finger, brushing it against Amber's cheek. "I could snap your neck with one hand." Amber did not flinch. "Your Majesty could do so with any of your guards. The difference is, I would see it coming." The queen stepped back, visibly intrigued. "Tell me, human, what makes you special?" Amber considered her words carefully. "I adapt, Your Majesty. Humans survived on Earth by adapting to countless threats. We are not the strongest or fastest species, but we observe, we learn, we overcome. Through our history, we have faced predators, natural disasters, and wars that should have ended us. Yet here I stand." The queen moved to a window overlooking the capital city. Its massive structures of crystal and metal gleamed in the light of twin suns. The view was breathtaking, but Amber noticed how the queen studied her reflection in the glass rather than the city below. "The royal advisors tell me humans are dangerous," Xylara said finally. "That despite your physical weaknesses, your species has a talent for violence unmatched in the galaxy." "Is this true?" Amber met the queen's gaze in the reflection. "We can be violent when threatened." "Yes. But we also create art, heal the sick, explore distant worlds. We are complex, like all sentient species." Xylara turned to face her. "You did not deny being dangerous." Amber allowed herself a small smile. "Would you have believed me if I had?" For the first time, the queen seemed genuinely amused. She moved across the room to a panel on the wall, pressing her palm against it. A hidden compartment opened, revealing a collection of Earth artifacts, books, paintings, a violin, even a small potted plant. Amber recognized as a simple daisy. "I have been studying your species," she explained, lifting the violin with surprising gentleness. "Your ambassador brings me these gifts but cannot explain what makes humans truly different from other species in the galaxy." She held the instrument out to Amber. "Can you play this?" Amber took the violin, inspecting it carefully. "I haven't played since I was a child, Your Majesty, but I can try." She positioned the instrument, raising the bow, and began to play a simple melody from her childhood. The notes echoed in the chamber, imperfect but heartfelt. As she played, memories of Earth flooded back, the green hills of her hometown, the smell of rain on hot pavement, the warmth of her mother's kitchen. These thoughts must have shown on her face, because when she finished, the queen was watching her with curious intensity. "Fascinating," Xylara whispered. "What were you thinking of just now?" "Home," Amber replied simply. The queen nodded, as if confirming something to herself. "Tomorrow, I leave for the Peace Summit on Krell," she announced abruptly. "The Royal Guard will accompany me, including you, Amber, bowed slightly. It will be an honor. Your Majesty. The Queen returned to the window. I chose you specifically, human, because my advisors tell me there may be trouble at the summit. The Draxians oppose our alliance with Earth. They see humans as a threat to galactic stability. Amber processed this information carefully. The Draxians were a warrior race known for their aggressive expansion. They had been pushing against Zarthian borders for decades. Only the recent alliance with Earth had kept them in check. You believe they might attempt something at the summit? Amber asked. Zalara nodded. The Draxian Emperor will be there. His honor guard as well. It would be the perfect opportunity to eliminate me and blame it on humans, thereby destroying our alliance. And you want me there because Amber prompted. The Queen turned her silver eyes, calculating. Because if there is an attack, I want to see firsthand. If humans are as dangerous as they say. Amber understood. Then, she was not just a guard. She was a demonstration of human capability. The success or failure of the Earth Alliance might rest on her shoulders. I will not disappoint you. Your Majesty, she said. The Queen studied her for a long moment. Before you leave, tell me something human. What do you think of us Zarthians? Amber chose her words with care. I think your people are proud, powerful, and ancient. You have achieved wonders my species can barely comprehend. But I also think you fear change. And perhaps that is why you fear humans. The Queen did not respond immediately. When she did, her voice was quieter, more thoughtful. Perhaps you are right. She gestured toward the door. You are dismissed. Prepare for tomorrow. As Amber left the royal chamber, she could feel the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. Tomorrow would test not just her skills, but the future of humans standing in the galaxy. The thought should have terrified her. Instead, she felt a strange excitement growing. She had always wanted to make a difference now. She would have her chance. The royal shuttle gleamed like a polished jewel as it descended through the atmosphere of Krell Amber, stood near the viewing port, watching as the alien landscape came into focus. Below them, vast purple plains stretched to the horizon, broken only by towering rock formations that spiraled into the sky like frozen tornadoes. Krell was a neutral world, chosen specifically for the Peace Summit. Its native population, the Krellians, were known for their strict neutrality and exceptional security. The summit would take place in their ancient citadel, a fortress carved from a single massive mountain. Captain Vrax, the leader of the Royal Guard, approached Amber, his massive purple frame blocking her view of the planet below. The Queen wishes to speak with you, he said, his tone making it clear he didn't approve. Amber nodded and made her way to the royal quarters at the center of the shuttle. The door slid open, revealing Queen Zylara surrounded by her advisors. Their conversation stopped abruptly when Amber entered. Leave us, the Queen commanded. Her advisors filed out, casting curious glances at the human guard. Zylara gestured to a holographic display showing the layout of the Krellian citadel. The security arrangements are extensive, she explained. The Draxians will be housed in the East Wing, our delegation in the West. The summit chambers are in the central spire. Neutral ground, protected by Krellian guards. Amber studied the layout, memorizing escape routes and potential ambush points. Her Majesty believes the threat is real. The Queen deactivated the display. I received another warning last night. A message from an anonymous source claiming the Draxians plan to move against us during the summit. Could it be misinformation? Amber suggested. Designed to increase tensions. Zylara fixed her with those unsettling silver eyes, perhaps. But I prefer caution. She moved closer, lowering her voice. You will remain at my side throughout the summit. Not with the other guards. Amber kept her expression neutral. This would not please Captain Vrax. He already resented her presence. I need someone who sees things differently. The Queen continued. Someone who thinks like a human. The Draxians will expect Zarthian tactics, but you might notice what my people miss. The shuttle jolted slightly as it docked with the Krellian landing platform. Captain Vrax returned to announce their arrival. His eyes narrowed, seeing Amber standing so close to the Queen. Your Majesty, he said stiffly. The Draxian Emperor has already arrived. His delegation awaits us in the greeting hall. Zylara nodded. Captain, I have decided that the human will serve as my personal guard during the summit. Vrax stiffened his purple skin, darkening with emotion. Your Majesty, this is highly irregular. The human has not completed full guard training. She lacks experience for such an important role. The Queen raised one of her 4 hands, silencing him. I have made my decision, Captain. You will brief her on protocol and ensure she has the necessary equipment. Vrax bowed deeply as protocol demanded, but Amber could see the rage in his eyes. When the Queen moved to prepare for disembarking, he leaned close to Amber, his voice a low hiss. If anything happens to her human, your species will pay the price. Remember that. The greeting hall of the Krellian Citadel was a marvel of alien architecture. Its vast domed ceiling rose hundreds of feet, supported by columns that seemed to be made of living crystal light filtered through them, casting rainbow patterns across the assembled delegates. The Draxian delegation stood on one side of the hall, their red-scaled bodies covered in ornate armor that emphasized their reptilian appearance. Their Emperor Krull was massive even by Draxian standards. His crimson scales bore gold inlays marking his royal lineage. His eyes were yellow slits that followed Queen Zylara as she entered. Amber walked 2 steps behind the Queen, scanning the room for threats. The Krellian security forces lined the walls, their translucent bodies almost invisible against the crystal. Their neutrality was legendary, but Amber trusted no one in this situation. Queen Zylara approached Emperor Krull with practiced grace. Emperor, she said, her voice carrying across the hall. We come in peace, seeking resolution to our differences. The Emperor inclined his massive head. Your words of peace ring hollow when you bring human pets to our meeting. He gestured toward Amber with obvious disgust. These creatures spread through the galaxy like a disease. Yet you embrace them. Zylara remained composed. Humanity has proven to be valuable allies. They offer perspectives our ancient species sometimes lack. The Emperor made a dismissive gesture. We shall see. He turned to lead his delegation toward the summit chambers. As he passed Amber, he paused briefly, leaning down, his hot breath carrying the scent of something metallic. Watch yourself, human, he whispered. You do not belong here. The summit chambers were arranged in a circular pattern with delegates seated according to their status. Queen Zylara took her place at one of the 3 primary positions, with Emperor Krull directly across from her. The 3rd position remained empty until the Krellian arbiter arrived. Amber stood behind the Queen, observing everything. The Draxian guards kept their clawed hands near their weapons, their eyes constantly scanning the room. Not the behavior of a delegation truly interested in peace. The Krellian arbiter finally entered, a tall, willowy being with translucent skin through which complex organs could be seen pulsing with light. Welcome, she said, her voice somehow coming from all directions at once. We gather to seek harmony between ancient powers. The future of many worlds depends on what transpires here today. As the formal proceedings began, Amber noticed something odd about one of the Draxian guards. His movements seemed slightly off compared to the others. He kept touching his armor at the wrist, as if adjusting something. When their eyes met, he looked away too quickly. Amber leaned forward, whispering in the Queen's ear. Your Majesty, I request permission to move positions. I need a better view of the Draxian delegation. The Queen nodded almost imperceptibly. Amber circled behind, moving to a position where she could better observe the suspicious guard. From this angle, she could see that his scales had a slightly different pattern than the others, almost as if the realization hit her just as the lights in the chamber flickered. The suspicious guard was not Draxian at all. The proportions were wrong, the movements too stiff. He was wearing some kind of disguise. Amber moved instantly, drawing her weapon. The false guard saw her movement and reached for his wrist device. Amber fired without hesitation, her shot striking his arm. The device on his wrist sparked, and suddenly the entire chamber was plunged into darkness. Emergency protocols. Amber shouted, grabbing the Queen by her upper arm, pulling her down behind the Zarthian delegation table. As they dropped, a blade whistled through the air where the Queen's head had been moments before. The chamber erupted into chaos. Shouts and weapons fire filled the darkness. Amber activated her emergency beacon, sending the alert to Captain Vrax and the Royal Guard. But they were stationed outside the chamber. The attack had been timed perfectly. "Protect the Queen," a voice shouted. It was Captain Vrax. He must have been monitoring her beacon. Amber needed to get the Queen to safety, but in the darkness with unknown assailants, it was too dangerous to move. They needed light. She reached into her utility belt, pulling out a small device. The Queen watched as Amber twisted it, and suddenly a blinding flash illuminated the chamber, temporarily disorienting everyone. But in that flash, Amber saw them. 3 figures in stealth suits moving toward their position. They weren't Draxian at all. The light faded back to darkness. But now Amber knew where the threats were. She fired 3 precise shots, hearing satisfying thuds as bodies hit the floor. "Stay down, Your Majesty," she instructed. "We need to reach the exit without crossing the open chamber." As her eyes adjusted to the darkness, Amber could make out shapes moving in the chaos, but which were friends and which were enemies. She needed another strategy. The Queen's voice came from beside her. "Your armor has emergency lighting, does it not?" "All Royal Guard armor does, of course." Amber realized the Queen was right. She found the control panel on her forearm armor and activated it. A soft purple glow emanated from the Zarthian symbols etched into her protective gear. It wasn't much, but it would be enough. "Get ready to move." "Your Majesty," Amber whispered. "We go on my mark." "I understand, Your Majesty." Kella replied, her image flickering on the screen. "I can dispatch a stealth vessel, but it will take 3 hours to reach Krell." The Queen exchanged glances with Amber. 3 hours. "We must remain hidden until then." Kella leaned closer to the screen. "Who is with you?" "Your Majesty." "My human guard." Amber, the Queen replied. "She has proven most valuable." The scientist looked surprised but continued. "The situation beyond the Citadel is chaotic. Reports are conflicting. Some claim you attempted to assassinate the Draxian Emperor. Others say the Draxians attacked first. The Galactic Council is demanding explanations. Propaganda," Amber said, stepping into view of the screen. "Whoever orchestrated this attack planned the information. War as well." Kella nodded, her expression grim. "I will send extraction coordinates to this terminal transmitting now. Stay safe." "Your Majesty." The screen went dark as the transmission ended. Amber studied the coordinates that appeared. A landing zone 3 miles from the Citadel. They would need to escape the building and cross open terrain without being detected. Amber turned to the Queen. "We have 3 hours to reach the extraction point. But first we need to understand what we're dealing with." She gestured to the security systems. "Can you operate these?" The Queen moved to the console, her 4 hands moving across the controls with practiced efficiency. She accessed the surveillance system, bringing up multiple views of the Citadel interior. Cameras showed armed groups moving through corridors. Some wore Draxian armor, others Krellian security uniforms. But their movements suggested they were working together. Most disturbing was the footage from the summit chamber. Several bodies lay motionless on the floor, including what appeared to be the Draxian Emperor. "They killed their own Emperor," Amber said in shock. The Queen zoomed in on the image. "This changes everything. If the Emperor is dead, who is giving orders to the Draxian forces?" Amber studied the footage closely. Then she noticed something odd about the Emperor's body. The proportions seemed wrong, just like the false guard she'd spotted earlier. A chill ran down her spine. "Your Majesty, I don't think that's the real Emperor. It may be another imposter." The Queen stared at the screen, her silver eyes narrowing. "That would explain much if someone wanted to destroy both our empires. What better way than to eliminate both rulers and blame each other?" A sound from outside the security hub caught Amber's attention. Footsteps approaching multiple sets. They had lingered too long. "We need to move now," she whispered, helping the Queen away from the console. "Grab anything useful." The Queen quickly downloaded the extraction coordinates to a portable device, while Amber collected weapons from the unconscious intruders. They slipped out through a side door just as the main entrance was breached. Amber led them through maintenance corridors heading downward. The Citadel schematic she'd studied showed utility tunnels beneath the structure that led outside. They would be their best chance of escape. The queen size made progress difficult in the narrow passageways, but she moved with determination, never complaining. As they descended deeper into the Citadel, the sounds of conflict above grew distant. Who would benefit from war between our peoples? The queen asked as they paused at a junction. Both Zarthians and Draxians are ancient powers. Our conflict would destabilize half the galaxy. Amber considered the question. A third power, perhaps, or someone within your empires who wants a different future. She thought of the attackers she'd overheard in the security hub. They had mentioned a puppet emperor. Before she could share her thoughts, a noise echoed from the passageway ahead. Something large was moving toward them. They pressed into an alcove, Amber positioning herself in front of the queen. A massive figure emerged from the shadows. Emperor Krull of the Draxians. His crimson scales were dulled with dust and what appeared to be blood. His royal armor was damaged, but he moved with purpose. His yellow eyes widened, seeing them, Queen Zylara. He rumbled, his voice surprisingly quiet for his size. So you live as well. The queen stepped forward, pushing past Amber Emperor. What is happening? Who attacks us? Krull looked over his shoulder as if expecting pursuit. Betrayal. He growled. My own General Vex staged this with help from within your court as well. The human colonies in the neutral zones were to be blamed. Our empires would go to war while they seized power in the confusion. Amber kept her weapon trained on the Emperor. How do we know you are the real Krull? She demanded. There are imposters using some kind of disguise technology. Emperor fixed his yellow eyes on her smart human. He extended a clawed hand, showing a deep scar across his palm. This mark was given to me by Queen Zylara's mother in our youth. A detail no imposter would know. The queen studied the scar, then nodded. It is him, she confirmed, lowering Amber's weapon. Krull moved closer, speaking urgently. The false emperor they planted in my place will soon declare war on Zarthians, blaming you for my assassination. Your people will retaliate against what they believe is a Draxian attack. The conflict they desire will begin unless we stop it. But how? Amber asked. We are trapped in this citadel with hostile forces hunting us. The Emperor produced a small device from his armor. A quantum communicator, he explained it, can reach my loyal ships directly, bypassing normal channels. But to broadcast, I need access to a transmission amplifier. The Queen turned to Amber. The landing bays would have such technology. Amber nodded, thinking quickly. The West Bay, where their shuttle was docked, was likely heavily guarded. But there were smaller maintenance bays used for supply deliveries. Those might be less secure. We can reach the maintenance bay through these tunnels, she suggested. It's our best option. The unlikely trio moved through the underbelly of the Citadel. The Emperor explained how he'd discovered the plot too late to prevent it, but had managed to escape when the attack began. His General Vex had been planning this for years, placing loyal followers in key positions. Your Captain Vrax, the Emperor said to the Queen. Was he acting strange before the attack? The Queen considered not Vrax himself, but there were new additions to my guard in recent months, recommended by my advisor Krell. Amber froze. Krell. That was the name of this planet? The coincidence seemed too great. Your Majesty, she said carefully. Your advisor shares a name with this neutral world. The Queen stopped, a look of shock crossing her features. How did I not see it? He insisted on this location for the summit. Against the advice of my council, the Emperor growled. Vex and Krell working together. They chose this place because they controlled it. The neutral Krellians are known for their privacy. Few outsiders ever see them. It would be simple to replace them. The pieces fell into place in Amber's mind. The perfect location for a false flag operation. A place where both empires would send their leaders with minimal security. An isolated world where communication could be controlled. They reached a heavy door marked with Krellian symbols for maintenance access. The Emperor forced it open with his considerable strength, revealing a small landing bay beyond. A service shuttle sat on the pad with no guards visible. Too easy, Amber thought, scanning the area. Where were the guards? Something was wrong. She held up her hand, stopping the others. "Wait," she whispered. "This could be a trap." The Emperor sniffed the air, his reptilian senses more acute than either Amber or the Queen. He pointed to the shadows. "Behind the shuttle. They wait for us." Amber studied the area, looking for options. A direct confrontation would be too risky, but they needed that shuttle. Its engines would be powerful enough to boost the quantum communicator signal. "I have an idea," she said softly, turning to the Queen and Emperor. "Your Majesties, how good are you at creating a distraction?" Minutes later, Amber watched from her hiding place as Queen Xylara and Emperor Krull appeared at the far side of the bay, arguing loudly. There, voices echoed, drawing the attention of the hidden guards traitor. The Queen shouted, her forearms gesturing dramatically. "You led us into this trap." The Emperor roared back with convincing rage. "Your human pets attacked my people. This was your plan, all along." 6 figures emerged from hiding, moving toward the royal distraction. Their weapons trained on the arguing leaders. They wore Krellian security uniforms but moved with military precision. "Now," Amber whispered to herself. She sprinted from her position, staying low behind cargo containers. Her target was the shuttle's external power coupling. If she could overload it, the resulting energy surge would be enough to disrupt the guard systems and provide cover for them to reach the shuttle. Daisuke reached the coupling and quickly rewired it, setting a delayed overload. Her heart pounded in her ears as she worked, knowing any mistake could be fatal. The coupling began to hum as energy built up. Amber sprinted back to her position just as one of the guards approached the royals. "Take them alive," a voice commanded. "We need them for the announcement." The coupling exploded in a flash of blue energy. The electromagnetic pulse rippled across the bay. The guards' tech sputtered and failed, their weapons and communication devices rendered useless. The lights flickered and died, plunging the bay into darkness. "Now," Amber shouted. The Queen and Emperor moved with surprising coordination, their larger bodies easily overpowering the disoriented guards. Amber raced for the shuttle, forcing the door open and checking the interior. No ambush inside. She activated the shuttle systems as the royals dispatched the last of the guards and joined her inside. The Emperor immediately connected his quantum communicator to the shuttle's transmission system. "You fly human," he ordered. "This technology is compatible with your neural patterns." The soft purple glow from Amber's armor created eerie shadows as she guided Queen Xylara through the chaos of the summit chamber. Screams and weapons fire echoed around them, but Amber remained focused on their escape route. The nearest exit was 30 paces away, a service corridor used by the Krellian staff stay. "Lo, Your Majesty," Amber instructed. "We need to reach that door without being spotted." The Queen moved with surprising agility for her size, following Amber's lead without question. They crouched behind an overturned table as more weapons fire streaked through the darkness. This was not a simple assassination attempt. Amber realized this was too coordinated, too well planned. The attackers had somehow bypassed the legendary Krellian. Security disabled the lights and created enough confusion that no one knew who was attacking, whom. Perfect conditions for eliminating multiple targets. Amber peered around the edge of the table. The purple glow of her armor reflected off something. Metal on the floor ahead, a fallen weapon. She reached out, grabbing it, and recognized it as a Draxian sonic disruptor, more powerful than her standard issue sidearm. 3 figures moved through the darkness ahead, blocking their path to the exit. Amber couldn't identify their species in the darkness, but their movements were too coordinated to be panicked delegates. They were hunters searching for targets. Amber handed the Queen her sidearm. "Keep this," she whispered. "Stay here and shoot anything that comes close. That isn't me." Before the Queen could protest, Amber had slipped away into the shadows. The purple glow of her armor faded as she deactivated it, plunging herself into complete darkness. She moved silently, approaching the first attacker. From behind, years of training on Earth had prepared Amber for combat, but her time among the Zarthians had taught her about alien physiology, where to strike for maximum effect, how to disable rather than kill when necessary. She struck the first attacker. at the base of the skull with the butt of the Draxian weapon. They dropped without a sound. The second attacker turned, sensing movement, but Amber was already moving. She fired the sonic disruptor at low power. The directional blast hit the attacker in the chest, sending them flying backward into the third figure. Both went down in a tangle of limbs. Amber returned to the Queen. "Stay close," she said, reactivating her armor lights. "The path is clear for now." They moved swiftly toward the service corridor, Amber leading the way. The door was locked, but the control panel still had emergency power. Amber entered the override code she'd memorized during her security briefing. The door slid open, revealing a narrow passageway. The corridor was dimly lit by emergency strips along the floor. Amber checked both directions before motioning the Queen forward. "We need to reach the secure bunker beneath the Citadel," she explained. "Most of the delegates will head there. It's the safest place." The Queen studied Amber with those unsettling silver eyes. "You seem prepared for this, human, almost as if you expected it." Amber met her gaze steadily. "I prepare for all possibilities, Your Majesty." "It's what humans do." They moved quickly through the service corridors occasionally, hearing sounds of fighting echoing through the Citadel. The attack was larger than Amber had first thought. Not just the summit chamber, but the entire facility. As they rounded a corner, voices echoed ahead. Amber gestured for the Queen to stop pressing her against the wall in a protective stance. 4 figures approached from the connecting corridor, their outlines becoming clearer as they neared. Amber raised the sonic disruptor, ready to fire. "Wait," the Queen whispered. "Those are my guards." "Captain." Vrax emerged from the shadows, his purple skin easily visible even in the dim light. "Your Majesty," he called out. "Are you injured?" The Queen stepped forward. "I am unharmed, thanks to my human guard." She performed admirably. Vrax and his 3 guards surrounded the Queen, their massive bodies forming a protective circle. He barely acknowledged Amber. "The secure bunker has been compromised." "Your Majesty," he reported, "we must get you to the shuttle. The Krellians have authorized emergency departure protocols." Amber frowned. Something felt wrong. The bunker compromised that would require intimate knowledge of the Citadel's security systems and the Krellians authorizing departures during an active security threat that violated all standard protocols. "Captain Amber," said carefully. "Who gave the authorization for departure?" Vrax turned his massive head toward her, his expression unreadable. "The Krellian arbiter, of course. Who else would have the authority?" Amber nodded, but her suspicions grew. The arbiter had been in the summit chamber when the attack began. How had she issued new orders so quickly unless a trap? Amber realized they were being led into a trap. She moved closer to the Queen, leaning in to whisper, "Your Majesty, I believe Captain Vrax has been compromised." The Queen stiffened but gave no other indication she'd heard. Before she could respond, Vrax spoke again. "We must hurry, Your Majesty. The shuttle is waiting in the east docking bay." "The east docking bay," Amber noted. That was the Draxian section of the Citadel. Their shuttle was docked in the west. The trap was becoming clearer. Amber made her decision with the speed that had kept her alive through countless dangerous situations. She raised the sonic disruptor and fired at the ceiling. The blast shook the corridor, bringing down debris between them and Vrax's. "Team, run, Your Majesty," she shouted, grabbing the Queen's arm and pulling her down a side passage. Vrax isn't himself. Shouts and weapons fire erupted behind them, but the fallen debris bought them precious seconds. Amber led the Queen through a maze of service corridors, her mental map of the Citadel guiding their escape. The Queen kept pace, her forearms allowing her to move with surprising speed, despite her large frame. "Those were my loyal guards," she said, her voice tight with emotion. "Why would they betray me?" "Not betrayal," Amber replied as they ran. "Mind control or imposters, I suspect the latter. The real Captain Vrax would never direct you to the east docking bay." They emerged into a large storage area filled with supplies for the summit. Amber quickly secured the door behind them, buying them a moment to catch their breath. "Your Majesty, we can't trust anyone," she explained. The attack is too coordinated. Security systems compromised guards. Replace someone had detailed inside knowledge. The Queen nodded, her expression grim. Where do we go now? Our shuttle is likely under enemy control. Amber considered their options. We need to contact someone we can trust. Is there anyone? The Queen thought. For a moment, my chief scientist, Kella, she said finally. She remained on our homeworld but has secure communication access. She could send help. Amber nodded. To reach a communication terminal, we'd need to access one of the command centers. The nearest would be the security hub 2 levels down. The Queen straightened to her full height. It seems I have no choice but to trust you completely. Human. Amber allowed herself a small smile. That would be wise, Your Majesty. They moved through the storage area, finding a maintenance shaft that would take them down to the security level. As they prepared to descend, the Queen placed one of her 4 hands on Amber's shoulder. If we survive this, human, I will remember what you have done today. Amber nodded. Simply, doing my job, Your Majesty. The maintenance shaft was narrow, forcing the Queen to squeeze her large frame through tight spaces. Amber went first, checking for threats at each junction. When they finally reached the security level, they emerged into another corridor. This one completely dark. Amber activated her armor lights again, revealing the way forward. The security hub should be just ahead, she whispered. Let's hope it's not already occupied. They moved cautiously down the corridor, Amber with the sonic disruptor raised, ready for any threat. The door to the security hub appeared ahead, sealed with a heavy locking mechanism. Amber examined it. This requires Krellian authorization. We can't override it. The Queen stepped forward. The summit protocols included emergency access codes for all delegation leaders. She entered a complex sequence into the control panel. The door remained shut. It seems the codes have been changed, the Queen said. Amber studied the door, looking for weaknesses, the hinges. The control panel, any point of entry, a thought occurred to her. The ventilation system, Zarthians would be too large, but a human. She spotted a vent cover near the floor, large enough for her to squeeze through. If I can get inside, I can open the door. From within, the Queen looked doubtful. You would be trapped if enemies await inside. Amber was already removing the vent cover. Calculated risk, Your Majesty. She handed the Queen the sonic disruptor. If I don't open the door in 5 minutes, assume I'm captured and find another way. Before the Queen could protest, Amber had slipped into the ventilation shaft. The metal walls pressed close around her as she crawled forward, guided by the faint light ahead. Soon she could see through another vent cover, into the security hub. The room was dimly lit by emergency lighting. 2 figures stood at the control panels. Their backs were to her, but Amber could see they weren't Krellians. Their proportions were wrong. She watched as they worked on the systems, clearly trying to override something. Amber carefully removed the vent cover and slipped into the room. The intruders were so focused on their task they didn't notice her. She moved silently across the floor, taking cover behind a console. Drawing her backup knife from her boot, she prepared to strike. The door is sealed, one of the intruders said, their voice distorted as if through a translator. The Zarthian Queen cannot escape. Good, the other replied. Soon the puppet emperor will announce that she attempted to assassinate him. The alliance with Earth will be finished.